I want to look at a parable that I really thought I knew the meaning of until recently when I heard Tim Keller talk about its meaning in its cultural context. In just a moment, as we read this parable, all of you are going to think to yourself, I know this parable, I know what this means, because you're going to be just like me. You're going to say, I've heard this thing a million times before. And today, I'm just going to pray that you see it in a new light, as I've seen it in a new light. In this series called Vital Signs, we've been examining the strength of our spiritual passion. What are your vital signs? And one of the things that we've learned in this series is this, that a person can look like they're alive on the outside. They can look like they know God and they have a vibrant relationship with God on the outside. And yet, on the inside, be spiritually dead. Not be accomplishing the purposes of God. Not really living the way God wants them to live. And I think the greatest problem in the church today is spiritual deadness. We battle with it all the time. Understanding this parable that we're about to read will help you to understand the root cause of spiritual deadness. It'll help you to understand why it exists. And as we look at this parable afresh and anew, I pray that it will force us to evaluate the true reasons why we serve Christ. The parable is found in Luke chapter 15, so if you turn there, beginning with the 11th verse. Luke chapter 15, verse 11. To illustrate the point, Jesus told them this story. A man had two sons. The younger son told his father, Father, I want my share of your estate right now, before you die. So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons, the younger brother and the older brother. A few days later, the younger son packed all of his belongings and moved to a distant land, and there he wasted all of his money in wild living. Now, about the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. And so he persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him out into his fields to feed the pigs. And the young man became so hungry while he was doing that, that even the pods that he was feeding the pigs began to look good to him. But no one would give him anything. Well, when he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home, even the hired servants have enough food to spare. And here I am out in this field, and I'm dying of hunger. I know what I'll do. I'll go back home to my father, and I'll say, Father, I have sinned. I have sinned against heaven and you. I'm not even worthy to be called your son any longer. So if you would just please take me in as a hired servant. And so he returned home to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. And filled with love and compassion, his father ran to the son, and he embraced him, and he kissed him. And his son said to him, Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you. I am no longer worthy of being called your son. But immediately his father said to his servants, Quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. And get a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet. And kill the calf that we've been fattening up, because we must celebrate with a feast. For this son of mine was dead, and now he is returned to life. He was lost, but now he's found. And so the party began. But meanwhile, the older son was in the fields working. And when he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house. And so he asked one of the servants what was going on. And they said, Your brother is back, and your father has killed the fattened calf, and we are celebrating because of his safe return. And the older brother was furious, and he would not go into the house. And so his father came outside, and his father began to beg and plead with him. But the older brother replied, All these years I have slaved for you, and never once refused to do a single thing that you told me to do. And in all of this time, you have never given me even one young goat for a feast with my friends. Yet when this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate him by killing the fattened calf. Now, the usual interpretation of this parable focuses on who? Focuses on the younger brother. It focuses on the wayward one. In fact, we call this parable the what? The prodigal son. But here's what I want you to know this morning. When you only see the story in that light, you miss the main message of the parable. You miss the point that Jesus was trying to make. Because this parable is actually not about the prodigal son. It's not about the younger brother. You see, here's the thing about parables. Jesus told parables, and every parable had an unexpected ending or a punchline to it. That's what a parable was. It was a story that people tracked with, and when they got to the end, there was a surprise or an unexpected ending. There was some truth that hit the audience right in the head. So to understand the meaning of this particular parable, one of the things that we have to figure out is, who was the target audience? Who was Jesus speaking to? And if you go back to the first verse of chapter 15, Jesus tells us who his target audience is. It says, tax collectors and other notorious sinners often came to listen to Jesus teach. Then look at verse 2. This made the Pharisees and the teachers of the law mad. And so the first thing I want you to understand this morning is that this particular parable, in fact, there are 3 parables in chapter 15. They are all targeted at Pharisees and religious teachers. Why?
For more information about Living Water Community Church, visit our website at www.lwccil.org or call us at 630-755-57